In 1954, the then British Colonial Secretary Oliver Littleton promulgated a constitution for Kenya that for the first time allowed the election of a few Africans to the Legislative Assembly or LegCo, albeit on a limited franchise. 8 new African LegCo members would be elected under the Littleton Constitution. In June 1955, African political activity in Kenya, which had been banned back in 1952, was allowed again, though on a district, not countrywide basis. Even then, no organization could be formed in Central Province, the home of the Mau Mau Rebellion. In March 1957, Africans went to the polls for the first time to elect 8 members to the LegCo. Among those elected would be men destined to shape the history of their country. They were Tom Mboya in Nairobi, Ronald Ngala at the coast, Oginga Odinga in Nyanza Central, Masinde Muliro in Nyanza North, Lawrence Oguda in Nyanza South, Daniel Arap Moi in Rift Valley, James Muimi in Ukambani, and Bernard Mate in Central. In late 1957, Sir Alan Lennox Boyd, Littleton's successor at the Colonial Office, came up with more reforms. He believed that Kenya would function well as a multiracial society and announced plans to give Africans 6 more seats in the Legislative Council or LegCo, creating parity with the Europeans. African elected leaders again objected. It was not a multiracial dispensation they wanted. They wanted a constitution that was based on full adult suffrage, a constitution that would lead to a free, independent Kenya governed by the African majority. And they demanded a firm timetable to that end. To show unity of purpose, African elected LegCo members formed the African Elected Members Organization, AEMO. Oginga Odinga became the first chairman of the AEMO, with Tom Mboya as his secretary. And to press their point, the African elected members of the LegCo resorted to boycotts and walkouts from the LegCo. They were not the only ones dissatisfied with the Lennox-Boyd constitution. The Europeans saw it as yet another erosion of their hitherto unchallenged domination of the country's political sphere. They wanted no more concessions to the Africans. But there was no turning back the wheels of change. A whole slew of new political and trade union movements had moved in to fill the vacuum that had been left with the banning of the Kenya African Union, CAU, back in 1952. Tom Mboya, already the head of the Kenya Federation Registered Trade Union, had taken advantage of the space given to trade unions to venture into politics with Nairobi as his base. There he would be challenged by Arwings Kodhek, a fellow Luo, who had just returned from England with a degree in law and a commitment to become a national political leader. Kodhek set up the first post-CAU political association, the Nairobi District African Congress, NDAC, in 1955. Not to be outdone, Mboya set up the Nairobi People's Convention Party, NCPC, the following year. Other parties were to follow. Oginga Odinga with his Central Nyanza District Association, Francis Hamisi with his Mombasa African Democratic Party, and lesser-known parties such as the South Nyanza District African Political Party, the Kisii Highlands Abagusi Association, the Taita African Democratic Union, and the Nakuru African Progressive Party. In 1958, under the so-called Lennox-Boyd Constitution, fresh elections added 6 more names to the list of African elected LegCo members. To represent Central Province South was Dr. Julius Kiano, who became the first Kikuyu elected member of LegCo. From Mombasa came Francis Hamisi, founder of the Mombasa African Democratic Union. Embuland sent Jeremiah Nyaga. Justice Ole Tipis and Taita Towet came in from the Rift Valley.